Hello. Good afternoon. Hi.
Hi, Lee.
Hello. Hi.
Just making sure you can hear me. I'm not going to ask you any questions, Lee. Don't worry.
That's all right. No worries.
Hi, Ross. Hi, Tracy.
Hello, afternoon all.
Hello. We're just going to give it a minute or two just to see if anyone else joins. I've got a thumbs up from Ross, so we're all good on the here in front, which is good. And then we'll give it a couple of minutes, and then we'll sort of start. Hi, Gemma.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. You?
Yeah, very well, thank you.
Just saying before you join, Gemma, we're expecting a few more, so we're going to give it a minute or so before we kick off.
No worries at all. If I go off camera, I'm trying to multitask and eat lunch at the same time.
No problem at all. But it's lovely to see you. I can see you now. But yeah, don't feel pressurised to come on camera. You just don't want to. We just appreciate you coming along. Hi, Chris.
Hi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Just making sure you can hear us. We're just giving it a minute or so, Chris, before we sort of kick off.
No worries.
Thank you. Give it just 2 minutes past through, and then I think we'll get going. And if anyone else comes, we'll let them in as we go. Hi, David.
Oh, hello.
A few more people now just coming in, so and then we will get started.
Welcome, Sinead.
Hello.
Hello.
So I'm in a client office, so I can't have my camera on, but it's nice to see.
Oh, no problem at all.
No problem at all. There's no pressure to put cameras on, folks. If so, it's your preference to keep them on. Okay, Sue, should we get going?
Yeah, I think so. Got a lot to get through in an hour.
We have got a lot to get through in an hour. So, hello everyone and good afternoon. Welcome to our webinar, Building Confidence with AI. My name's Natasha Bradley. I'm the director here at Empower M365, and I'm very pleased to be joined by my colleague Sue Gilkes, who's one of our adoption specialists.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Before we sort of move on, we just want to test to see if we can choose which picture has been created by AI. So on the screen at the moment, you should see a poll. So on the left is it AI or the bee? What do you think? Let's see if we can get this right. What votes coming in? Let's see. Anyone else like to vote? Oh. Surprisingly, it's actually quite equal, but you'll find on the left hand side is the AI generated image. So throughout the session we want to make it quite interactive, so we are going to ask a few polls as we go through. So the first poll that we're going to ask is, are you currently using AI? And again, it'll just come up on the screen, so you can just answer yes or no if you're currently using it. Very good. So most people, 100%, are using it. And then the next poll is, what tools are you currently using? And this will come up as a word cloud. So please feel free to just type into the response what tools you're using. Perfect, thank you. So what we're going to cover today is we'll be discussing AI myths versus reality. Then we'll be looking at what's stopping us being confident, followed by some practical hints and tips that you can take away. We'll then look at how we can use Copilot with confidence, and then we're going to open the floor up for questions. But it is interactive, so if you've got any questions as we go through, please feel free to put your hand up or put them in the chat and we can interact as we go. Over to you, Sue. Oh, you're on mute, I think. You're on mute.
Yeah.
That's
Excellent, good stuff. All right. Hello, everybody. My name's Sue. Lovely to meet you all this afternoon. So first of all, we're going to talk about myths and reality. So first of all, let's have a look at some of the myths that are out there about AI. So AI and machine learning and deep learning are all the same thing. That is a myth. I'm going to be explaining those to you in a minute. AI can think and feel like humans. AI will eventually learn to function like the human brain. More data means better AI, and AI is only for technically skilled people. So the reality is that AI, machine learning and deep learning are very closely related, but they very much differ. So for example, AI, this is a good way to think about it. AI is the goal. It's what we're trying to get the machine to do for us. The tasks that we associate with human intelligence, we're asking it to do reasoning for us, planning for us, perceive things, communicate for us. Now, machine learning is actually how do we achieve that AI? How do we achieve that goal? So it's the systems that improve a task by it learns different patterns from data rather than being explicitly programmed. So that gives you a clue towards AI is for only technically skilled people. We don't need programming skills. We don't need coding skills at all because we've got machine learning as part of AI, which is the goal. Now, deep learning, it's a type of machine learning, but it uses what we call multi-layer neural networks. And that's a bit of a mouthful, okay? But what that actually means is that the models are many stacked layers. And each of those layers are tiny little maths units. And those little maths units we would call neurons. And each layer basically transforms that data a little bit together, and so it can learn some very complex patterns. Now, why that matters is because the earlier layers within this deep learning, it spots simple things. So, for example, if you uploaded a picture, it would see the edges. Then it would begin to see the shapes. And then those shapes, it would begin to think, what are those objects that are of that shape? All right. So all of these three things together is a little bit like an assembly line in a factory. So you've got station 1 does the cleaning, station 2 does the chopping, station 3 does the cooking, station 4 has the plates, and each stage builds on the last. All right, so that's what we mean by AI. That's the goal, and machine learning and deep learning. I mean, a useful simple analogy that you can take away is AI would get the dinner made for you, all right? But the machine learning would learn what worked best by trying different recipes and keeping the recipes that taste the best. Whereas deep learning is really like a master chef who's, if anybody likes MasterChef, I'm a big fan, who's tasted millions of dishes and can invent new recipes from raw ingredients. All right, so that's really one of the main differences between those terms that we often hear when we start digging a little deeper into artificial intelligence. Now, we said AI can think and feel like a human. That is a myth. AI cannot. It lacks the true understanding. It lacks emotions and consciousness. Okay, it is still a machine. And those are the things that consciousness, those emotions, That's really what defines us as humans. Now, the way that you may have noticed ChatGPT, for example, some of you said that you were using that, or even Copilot, in terms of how it responds to you, it might respond emotionally. It seems like it is. It might be very kind, or it might be very understanding, but that's just how it's been programmed with an algorithm to respond to you like that. However, it can come across as though it is emotionally intelligent and has consciousness. It doesn't. That is just algorithms that's doing that for you. So will AI eventually learn to function like the human brain? So no. Algorithms are just what they are. Algorithms are literally just algorithms. All right. So does more data mean better AI, better artificial intelligence? It can, okay, but only if the data is good, the data is clean, it's easy to read, and that data is available. But so it doesn't necessarily mean that more data makes AI better, because if it's poor data, then no, it certainly won't. And is AI only for technical skilled people? Well, my mum's 85. She loves ChatGPT, and I would not say that she's technically skilled. So that's completely false. It is totally inclusive for absolutely everyone. In fact, my mum texted me the other day saying that she's doing AI for silvers, grey-haired people, I'm guessing. It's wonderful. So I don't know if anybody else has any other myths that they're aware of, or they've heard of, or something that they're concerned whether that's true or not. If you do, please feel free to pop something in the chat. Any questions that you've got, you can also pop in the chat. There will be time for questions at the end, but if you want to make a note of something so you don't forget, please feel free. So, how does AI make you feel? So this is our next poll. How does AI make you feel? So once again, you just need to pop in a word, and then that will give us a word cloud. Okay. Some people feel confused, some people feel excited, some people think it's helpful, it's great for innovation. Good, excellent, 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 excellent. Scared, yeah, nervous. These, yeah, possibilities, 100%, 100%. All of those things are totally relevant, and you know, I would say are quite common feelings that people are having about AI. Good. All right, let's move on. We've got another quick poll for you. That's brilliant. Thank you for sharing your feelings. Now, this one is, you've got to click a star. 1 if you don't feel very confident, and click the 5th star if you feel highly confident when using AI. So just put where you feel. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, thank you very much for doing that. All right. We'll let you off the polls for just a moment. So what is it that is stopping us succeeding? And I think a lot of the answers to that is just in the poll that we asked you, how do you feel? So yes, definitely fear of getting it wrong. You know, it might be that you've asked AI to do something, but you don't know if the result or the answer that is given you is 100% correct. You might be in a fear of just using it generally. So the fear of getting it wrong is very, very common. So we may be unsure or uncertain of the capabilities of AI. Are we asking it to do something that it perhaps can't really do just yet, etc.? Is it that lack of prompting skills? Now, today we're going to talk to you and share with you how you can write really good prompts, because ultimately this is the skill that you will need to learn in order to make the most in particular of Copilot, but also true of ChatGPT. And if you aren't aware, ChatGPT 5 is actually now part of Copilot. So that's absolutely great. So it is a new skill. Any new innovation that comes along needs us to learn something new, and prompting is that skill. But we're going to certainly give you some hints and tips as much as we can in the hour that we've got today. Maybe you feel rather overwhelmed with all of these new tools because there's a lot out there. There really, really is. Maybe you're feeling a little overwhelmed by it, or maybe you just don't really have the confidence in it. How accurate is it? Can I trust it? If I'm just going to agree with whatever it gives me, am I perhaps wrong in doing that? So all of those concerns are very, very valid indeed. So certainly don't be embarrassed about any of those concerns, because certainly we should have concerns, you know, especially when something new. If we just blindly follow something that's new without questioning anything, then that is a huge danger. Critical thinking is going to be a very key skill for the future, that's for sure. Okay. So some tips that might actually help you overcome some of these concerns that you might have. So first of all is that having a mindset that basically shifts you from feeling fearful into curiosity. Get curious, get interested, you know, do your own research, check some different things out. That's really, really going to help, because many people feel overwhelmed by AI. You certainly don't need to know everything. Nobody does anyway. You just really need to know how to ask it quality questions, which is prompting. Quality questions will give you quality answers. All right, that's going to be absolutely key. So the other thing is that start small. You know, as I say, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. All right, so just try little things first, have a play around with it, try it with perhaps giving you a summary of a transcription of a meeting, or ask it to summarize your emails, ask it to do simple tasks for you initially, you know, as you begin to grow in your confidence in using it. So at the end of the day, mistakes are going to be normal. When you first started using Excel, I'm sure that you made mistakes. Even using Outlook, weren't aware of all of its capabilities. And now these are quite common tools for us. But AI is still very, very new. ChatGPT itself is only 2.5 years old. So, you know, think of yourselves really, you're trailblazers. You know, you're getting into something that's still very, very new. You should feel proud of yourselves. You really, really should. Okay, now the other thing that we strongly suggest, and I'm going to show you how you can do this actually in Copilot, is to keep a prompt notebook. Now, ideally, you want to keep that prompt notebook digitally. So any prompt that you like or somebody else has sent you, anything that you want to keep, do keep it digitally. So maybe in a Word document or whatever, but you can keep them in Copilot, and I'll show you that today. Because prompts, and I have to say, one of the things that really frustrates me is that I don't know if you're getting to see all of these Instagram, Facebook, TikTok posts, you know, oh, top 10 prompts that will do this for you. They're not good. They are not good quality. No prompt that's 1 or 2 sentences is a quality prompt. So what you will want to do is to keep your prompts. So it's good to keep them digitally so you can copy and paste them, because you're going to want to refine them. You're going to want to improve them as time goes on. And very often, a prompt that works very, very well in business and does quite a complex task for you will be quite a lengthy prompt. It certainly isn't going to be a sentence as they're trying to sell us on social media. All right, so I do encourage you to, you know, write them down digitally. All right, and then you can compare those with colleagues, you can share prompts with your team, etc., etc. So you can be refining them, comparing them, etc., etc. Because, you know, like anything, somebody else may have thought of something that you wouldn't even have thought of. All right, so it's good to really keep a note of all of these things. The other thing, well, as I said, compare and refine. All right, so it's very normal to try and run the same prompt a few different times with tweaks, and then you see what different results that you get, because every time you use a prompt, you're going to get a slightly different result, particularly if you've been making some tweaks. All right, so really do think about AI as a thought partner. In fact, you can say to AI, what questions should I ask you? This is my goal. How would it help you? What questions do you have of me to help you achieve that goal? So I always think of AI as, you know, a fantastic assistant, an assistant that never goes off sick, is never in a bad mood, never has an off day, always does what you ask them to do immediately. But think about it in that way, a partner that you can perhaps spar with and question backwards and forth. You'll find that very, very useful. All right, so you can say, what am I missing? What else would you like me to say? Are there any other alternatives I should be thinking about? What questions do you have for me to enable you to do the job? All right, so, you know, certainly you need to be doing all of these things. So AI is here to help you. It is not there to replace you. But can I also say on that note is that you do need to be using AI, okay, because other people will be. And if you're deciding, no, I'm not doing that. In fact, I spoke to a colleague the other day who said that their business have actually banned all AI. Now, that is a very, very dangerous attitude, because it is moving very quickly and we certainly don't want to be left behind. All right, so AI is there to help you, but it's certainly not there to replace you. But it can replace some of the tasks that you do, which enables you then to do other things that you never get round to doing. I mean, I always, you know, think of all the, you know, my goals and all the things that I want to achieve, but my day-to-day admin can take up a lot of time. No longer that is the case. AI can do all my day-to-day sort of life admin task, work admin task, which then allows me to achieve those bigger goals and objectives that probably have been set for you by your manager or by your company. All right, it just enables you to actually do those things that we don't normally ever get the time to get round to doing. So good prompts are a skill. This is the new skill that we all need to have. All right, so prompting is definitely a skill, and it's something that you can practice every day. And as I say, keeping your prompts, you can keep refining those as well. So the other thing to build your confidence is you are in control. Okay, you are in control. You still, you know, regardless of what AI comes up and tells you, whether that's Copilot, ChatGPT, or anything else, you are still in control as to whether you use it. So just remember that. All right, it's not taking over you. Okay, you're very, very much in control. So I hope that's useful, because honestly, it's a fantastic tool that is there to serve us. So one of the things that we recommend for organisations, and certainly the organisations that we're working very closely with, is that you need to create a playground, somewhere that you can go and play with this stuff, okay, and share your ideas and share your prompts and share your results and have debates and have discussions. All right, so if any of you are using Teams, and hopefully if you've got Microsoft 365, you are definitely using Teams. It's a wonderful, wonderful tool. But within Teams, you can build a community, you know, a channel specific to AI and conversations and discussions and debates and prompts and what you've tried and what's worked and what hasn't worked, etc. All right, so we do strongly recommend that within your organization, you are building a community where you are exploring and discovering and playing with the AI. And then that gives you a nice, safe place, okay, to learn and share ideas. And some organizations organisations may very well say that's what we're going to do, and we're not going to use any particular prompt until we're all in agreement, which then gives everybody overall approval. So, safe place to learn and share ideas, a place where you can communicate clearly, although I didn't do that very well myself just then. So it's perfectly okay to play with Copilot, build that trust, build that familiarity, begin to just feel comfortable. We always feel uncomfortable when there's a change. We always feel uncomfortable when there's something new. And this is just a way to build that familiarity and build your confidence in it. And then you can begin to see, actually, it's not that difficult, and it's incredibly helpful and incredibly fast, and can do something that might take us, well, days. In fact, a recent client we've just finished doing some prompting with, she has said that we have already, and we haven't finished with her yet, we have already saved her 24 days a year. Okay, so that's absolutely incredible. Yeah, and that was just for one task. That was with one task. I know it sounds mad, but it is absolutely true. So, you know, if you can learn how helpful it can be and how much time it can save you, then that's absolutely wonderful. So the more you use it, like anything, the better you're going to be at it. Nobody's brilliant at it at the first go, are they? Okay, so give my little voice a break and a rest from my voice. Quick poll for you. Are you using Microsoft Copilot yet? Because currently not everybody is using Copilot, don't have a Copilot license as part of their Microsoft 365, although that's going to be changing later on this year. But what's the situation for you at the moment? Are you using Copilot? Okay, all right, a lot of you are. Fantastic, that's great. And if you're not, if you're using Microsoft 365 and have a license, you will be able to shortly, and it's good that some of you are looking into it. So how does Copilot actually work? All right, what is it really, really, really doing? Okay, well, let me give you an example, a very, very simple example. This is exactly really how it works. If I put up this phrase, hello, darkness, my old, can you put in chat what the next word is? Maybe you're all too young to know this. Let's see if we, yes, well done, Gemma. Absolutely well done. Kate, good, Tuanda, very, very well done. Good. Got another one for you. So whilst you're in chat, what about this one? We shall fight on the seas and oceans. We shall fight with growing confidence and growing strength in the air. We shall defend our island. Whatever the cost may be, we shall fight on the... Yes, Kate, very well done. We will fight on the beaches. And obviously that was a speech made by Winston Churchill, a very famous speech, hence why we know it. And it was actually made to the House of Commons on June the 4th, 1940, during World War II. So let me give you a work example. Okay, we can say, summarise last Friday's steering group decision and action owners. All right, and then what Copilot does, it basically takes that prompt that you've written within your Microsoft Office suite. You may not know this term, but tenant is what we call it. So if you're using Microsoft 365 at work, you have a Microsoft 365 tenant. And so if in your work Copilot, you ask it to summarize something, what it does, it looks into your tenant, It finds the Teams meeting, it finds the transcript. If there was a PowerPoint deck, it finds that, and any emails related to it, but only, just so that you don't get scared at this point, only if you're allowed access anyway. It's just like anything else in Microsoft 365. You can only access anything that you have got permissions to access, okay? And so that's what it's doing. It's taking your prompt and it's looking at that, and then it will draft that summary, okay? So that's basically what it's doing. Now, all that data that you have access to is what's called held in Microsoft Graph. And Microsoft Graph is basically your Microsoft data that you are allowed to have access to. So what it's doing, it's understanding your prompt. It's then looking at that context, who you are, what was the document you're referring to, or what is the meeting that you're referring to, maybe found in your recent emails or in your recent files, etc., etc. That's what it's doing. Just like you've done something that you knew, you've taken the context, so you're having a very good educated guess as to what comes next. And that's really what it's doing, all right? Okay, so it's making predictions, almost like, you know, when you get auto text come up, it's making predictions, all right? But as I say, all of these things within Copilot are going to stay within the boundaries of what you have got access to anyway. All right, it will never give you information that you don't have access to. All right, all that security is built in. So Copilot is not just a direct database dump. It only surfaces, only brings up, in other words, what you are permitted to see. And the other thing that it's not doing, it is not training itself on what's going on within your tenant, within your Microsoft Office 365, your organization, or your prompts. It's not learning from those to share that with people outside of your organization. All right, so you don't need to be worried about that. The same security that you get within Office 365, you absolutely get with Copilot. All right, Copilot does not know facts by magic. Okay, it's predicting by doing its research and within context. All right, so as I say, just think about it as like an autocomplete for words or any work tasks that you might ask it to actually do. All right, because these are some concerns that people absolutely have. So clear prompts. Let's talk about prompting, because as I said earlier, this is the skill that you need to learn. So the better the prompt, the better the results. Quality prompts are going to give you quality answers. It's as simple as that. Hence why I dislike these one-liners. So clear prompts give you better results because they're basically, your prompt is what AI is taking as its guide and as its instruction. All right. So you've just got to get good at prompting. You've just got to get good at prompting. So let me give you some top tips on prompting. And then I'm going to show you where you can save your prompts in Copilot if you don't already know. So keep it simple and conversational. So there's something built into artificial intelligence, AI. It's called natural language processing. So it has learnt, it has been taught, it has been programmed to understand human like language. So you don't have to speak to it as it is a computer. You can speak to it as you would an assistant, okay? But still be polite, still be respectful. That's still very important. But you can use everyday language in a friendly tone so that Copilot can understand exactly what you're trying to ask it to do. So just imagine that you're chatting with a helpful friend. You can even argue in a friendly manner like you would a friend and see what results you get back from Copilot in that way as well. Do be specific. Tell it what you want the outcome to be, the output, what you want it to give you, and also, you know, tell it what actions you want it to take, because AI can't guess, it can't infer, okay, which is in many ways far better than talking to a human, because a human will infer based on something that happened in the past or how they're feeling that day or a rumor that they heard. AI can't do that, okay? So it doesn't make logical leaps, it's not going to guess, okay? So you need to help it out by being very specific and stating exactly what you want it to do and what output you want. So don't be vague with it. Be nice and clear with it. And of course, you're not going to upset it, because sometimes if we feel that we're being too clear with an assistant, we're worried that we might upset them. Don't have to worry about that with AI. So sometimes you don't need artificial intelligence to do a job for you. Sometimes the way that you're doing it is good enough and as quick. All right. So it's not for absolutely everything, and you have to make that decision yourself. All right. So don't make it overcomplicated. Don't give it conflicting instructions, and just don't confuse it. Just as if you were speaking to a human, how would you, if you weren't going to upset them, clearly explain exactly what you want step by step? You can give it steps. You can ask it to do things in step order, or you can get it to do one bit and then ask it to do another bit following on from what you've just said. All right. But as I said, it can't make logical leaps, and it cannot infer what you're meaning or thinking. You have to be that direct and specific with it. Though if you are in the same session, and you've probably found this in, I mean, most people now are using ChatGPT. So for example, at the moment, because I can travel with my work because it's digital, I'm in Spain and it knows that I'm in Spain. And so and I've told it the area. So it's always remembering that when it's giving me recommendations for restaurants or places to go and see. All right. And it will do that. Copilot will do that in the same session. So if you're in a session and you say something to it and then you want something to follow on from that, it's because you're in the same session, it will infer that we're still talking about the same thing, the same place, etc. However, if you start a brand new session, okay, start a new chat with Copilot, then it's not going to take that previous information. All right. So it's important to understand Copilot's limitations. So as I said, break down those complex tasks, simplify them. You could even break them into smaller tasks bit by bit, ask it to do things bit by bit. And also what you can do is that you can get it to do repetitive tasks for you. In fact, you can even schedule repetitive tasks. So if you wanted it to give a summary of all the emails that came in since you left work last night to 9 o'clock in the morning, so when you start work, you've got a summary of the emails that have come over in overnight, which is great if you work, you know, sort of multinationally, different time zones. You can schedule that so every day it will repeat that task for you at a scheduled time. All right, so it's marvelous like that. Now, there are random responses from Copilot. So sometimes what's going to happen is that you could use the same prompt and you may get a slightly different response. However, once again, if we're very specific and we keep that prompt in our prompt library, then absolutely it will always do the same task for us. All right. Be polite. All right, use polite language, because actually how you speak to it sets a tone for how it responds to you. All right, so do be polite to it. And in fact, I don't know if any of you have heard of a gentleman called Mo Gaudat. He was head of Google X, so dealing with AI long time ago, self-driving cars, when those originally sort of reared their heads. And he is, you know, telling us all we must be polite. So I always say good morning and please and thank you. And equally, I don't want to forget to do that, because if we start getting into a habit of not saying please and thank you and being polite because we're working so much with our machines 8 hours a day, I don't want to forget that when I leave work. So still be polite, okay? Keep those good habits going. So as I mentioned earlier, be curious, play with it. It's fun. It's interesting, all right? Try different approaches, try different prompts, see what you get and see what works for you. And once you are being, being curious, you're going to feel more creative as well, all right? It can do all sorts of wonderful things for you. So, just get curious and start playing around with it. As I said, test and refine. So do keep the prompts that you are writing, because they will become quite long for if you wanted to do like processes for you at work. So you are going to end up with quite a long prompt. And so you want to keep those, and then you may want to just refine it a little bit. It didn't quite do what you wanted. So you have to look at, how do I actually ask it to do that? But you don't want to be starting all over again, because then you'll be thinking, oh, actually, it would have been quicker to do it myself. All right. So do keep this prompt library. It is going to be very, very important to you. So you can just fine tune them. Okay, transparency. Do share where this information has come from. I know, like on social media, you're meant to tick a little box to say that AI was used. People aren't. But within an organization, it should be encouraged that we are using AI. We want to be letting people know that we're doing that, and this is the results that we are getting, so that we can become curious and creative together. But if we're hiding it away and say, oh, I don't want anybody to know that I got Copilot to write that for me, there's no need to do that. It's here, it's accepted, etc. All right, so do be transparent with it. And then finally, quality and clarity. All right. So at the end of the day, and you've probably noticed if you're using Copilot and ChatGPT, it is searching. Copilot may be searching work data within your work environment, within your tenant. ChatGPT may be searching the web, and of course with ChatGPT being within Copilot, it's going to be doing both. So it's only finding information that's already out there. What it's doing is speeding everything up for you, all right? It's doing all that deep dive, deep digging, that research and all that writing and all that donkey work for you. That's what it's doing. But we all know there's no 100% guarantee that what we're finding on the web is necessarily 100% true and accurate. All right. So it's doing the legwork for you. And it's really finally always going to be down to you as to whether you are going to accept that as good quality work. It's true and it's clear and you're happy with it. As I said, you're still in control. You can go, well, actually, I'm not sure about that, or I don't actually agree with that. Cool, not a problem at all. You actually haven't wasted a lot of time doing loads of research because Copilot was doing it for you. It's always going to be down to you to accept it or reject it. All right, so that's very, very important that we understand. Okay, so what is a prompt? All right. So as I said, natural language processing. So just like talking to somebody if you had to hand over the task. Now, the better we are at communication and handing over tasks, not forgetting some important details and information, then the better result we're going to get. It's exactly the same with prompting. It's just that we're talking to a machine, not talking to a human. All right. So just like a good communicator, you would want to say why you want this, what output do you want, when do you want it, who do you want them to be? Do you want them to act as a highly successful HR manager, a highly successful recruitment manager, an award-winning finance manager? You can ask AI to take on that role, okay? You can ask them to take on that role. All right. So how you talk to the model, who you want it to be, what output that you want, what order perhaps you want it in, how it's written. I always ask it to write in UK English for an example, etc., etc. Then obviously that's the results that you're going to get. Don't forget, you're still talking to a machine. All right. So in a nutshell, AI, we are literally limited with AI down to your imagination. Whatever you can conceive, you are able to create, okay? But how do you do it? Well, that is, how do you prompt the AI to do it for you? All right. It really is as simple as that. So as a cool example is that if you said to an assistant that you perhaps had, could you please go and summarize my emails? They might go, okay. And then they toggle off and they think, oh, blimey, summarize emails. What? Since they started 20 years ago or just last week? But then they'd have to come back and they'd have to ask you. Well, Copilot isn't going to do that. All right, so you have to tell it up front. So if you want a great prompt, okay, then you've got to say, I'd like you to summarize my emails, please, from the past week, give it the dates maybe, create a table of actions, etc., 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 etc. Whatever the output you would like to see, that's what you have to tell it you want. All right, it's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. So I think I've laboured that point enough. So let me go into the art of prompting. Now, obviously, in our training sessions, we go into this in a lot more detail, and you know, we play with lots of different prompts, and we experiment, and we create prompts that are going to work for your particular business. But for a UK audience, this works quite well, is GCSE. Now, my grandchildren have just had their GCSE results, the General Certificate of Education. So GCSE is a good one for those of us that are based in the UK. So G stands for goal. What do you want from Copilot? C is for context. Why do you need it? Who's involved? What's going on? Give it some background information. Give it the context. S for source. Now, it might be that the source is a file within your Microsoft tenant. It might be an email. It might just be generally information found on the web. Okay, it might be specialist websites that give you like the latest changes in HR law, for example. So you might want Copilot to go and look at that because you're updating your HR policies. So you would give it the right resources to go and check. All right. So S is for source. And then E is for expectations. How should it respond? What should it be producing? Do you want a table? Do you want an Excel spreadsheet? Do you want a Word document? Do you want a PowerPoint? What do you want? Tell it what you are expecting it to do. All right. So that's always, whenever you're prompting, make sure that you have the goal, the context, the source, and the expectations. Or if you're going to struggle to remember that, the other way that I always prompt as well is why, what, where, when, who, how, the 5 W's and 1 H. Okay, that's another really good way of remembering how to create your prompts. So just to give you an example of how that changes things. So good prompt, maybe these one-liners that we see on social media, help me to prepare for an up-and-coming candidate interview for a new AI engineer role in our IT department. That's what you're asking it to do. But the goal is, I want a list of questions. Okay, and the rest was the context. Yeah. Now, the better would have been, I am a HR manager, and explain what you're doing. Please prepare a list of questions appropriate for that candidate, because what you could do then is give them the candidate CV. Okay, give them a link to that CV, and so you can have specific questions for that particular candidate. But even better than that, okay, is that you can ask it to do all that I've just explained, but you said, here is the resume, here is the here is the job description, and I also want you to perhaps help me determine who is going to be the best candidate. All right, so you can do it for all sorts of things. So when I talk about keeping your prompts, because really good prompts can end up quite lengthy if we're going through processes, this might be the sort of length you might be looking at. Okay, not necessarily all that long, but maybe not. It's just depending on what you want it to do. Now, I'm going to do 2 demos for you now. One is a pre-recorded demo. Now, before I hit play, I just want you to understand what, oh, hang on, stop. Before I press play again, I want you to understand that this is a quick demo, okay, because Copilot is fast. So just so that you have a clue about what is actually going on in this video. So this video is showing how Copilot can help you save ever such a lot of time when you need to update a procedure. Now, within the UK, we're always having to update procedures. There's always new laws and legislation coming out. Now, in this demo, it's a medical procedure. And what we've asked Copilot to do is to update this medical procedure based on what's changed in laws and legislation since it was last written. So we're giving it the source to go and check. So it's going to research the latest information from specific resources that would perhaps be government approved, etc., etc. And then we want it to update our procedure. So we've given it a template that we want updated. We're giving it the original, and we've given it the sources where the latest information would be held in order to update this procedure. All right. So hopefully that's framed it well enough, because it works really, really quickly. So here we go. Let's put the mic on. Hopefully you can all hear that. Not sure if you can. So this is being blurred out because it's a Teams transcript. So whenever you have a Teams meeting and you are the owner, you've set that meeting up, it will keep the transcript in your OneDrive. All right. So this is where the prompt has gone in. It was a previously saved prompt because I expect every policy and procedure does need to be updated on a regular basis. It's giving it the documents. It's saying this is the template. These are the sources. Now, please, can you update it? And there you go. Off it goes. And what it's done here, it's actually giving you all the changes that has actually been made. All right. So look how fast and quick something like that is. Now, I don't know about you, but in the past, I've had to be responsible for updating policies and procedures within IT teams. And it's an absolute, well, it's just one of those horrible tasks, isn't it? Absolutely one of those horrible tasks. But now Copilot can do it for you very, very quickly. Now we're saying, okay, now take this information, please, and can you please create us a PowerPoint about it, about what's going on here? And so now it's creating a PowerPoint. So in a nutshell, it's gone and done the research, it's created a new document, okay, and it's created a PowerPoint, and it's done that all in under 2 minutes with notes in the PowerPoint in 2 minutes. Okay, now you might, I mean, and the other thing you can do, you can say, well, actually, here's my company's template. All right, please use my company template. And so it's not just going to use any ad hoc Microsoft PowerPoint template, it will use your company template. So, yeah. It speeds things up. I mean, who's ever heard of any PowerPoint, let alone a policy, being created in less than 2 minutes? So the last demo I'm going to quickly do, and then we're going to come across to you and see if you have any questions. I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to take you into Microsoft Copilot on the web. So let me just share my screen with you. Okay, so Natasha, could you just pop on your mic and let me know that you can definitely see this screen, please?
Yeah, I can see that.
Marvellous, jolly good, all right.
Just to let you know, we've only got 6 minutes left.
Yes, I am fully aware.
Okay, perfect. Thank
I
you.
knew it was a lot we had to get through in an hour. Okay. So when you go into Copilot on the web, all right, and you're going in through your Microsoft account, you can either use it personally and switch to a personal account, or you can actually go to your work account. Here's my Empower M365 account. So I'm going to go into that. Now, once I am in that, it's going to ask me, well, what do you want to do? All right. And so this is where I would give it his task. All right. So I would be typing around in here. And if I wanted to add any documents, like I wanted to use a template, I wanted to, use whatever document, then I can click add content, and it's going to give me in order that I've last used content. So here is today's presentation, and it's going to take me through all of these.
365 Copilot and the future of the systems-wide change.
Oh, what's going on? I can hear noise in the background. Okay, so I can then, if I want to just, it's about Natasha, it might be to do with any files that I'm using. It might be a meeting that I was in, so a meeting transcript that I was hosting, any emails, sites, etc. So I've got access to any content that I want Copilot to use. All right. Okay. Now, here are some prompts that Microsoft are recommending that I might find useful right now. If I click on see more, there's a whole other load. So do go and have a play around this yourself. But remember I said keeping a prompt, a note of the prompts that you're writing, you can go to your prompt gallery. So these are suggested prompts. Okay, so here's lots of suggested prompts. It goes on and on and on and on and on and on and on. But if I've written some prompts, okay, that I want to keep, then I've got a list of my prompts. But not only that, I can actually look at them and filter them. So I could have you prompts. So these are ones that I've written. Any tasks, maybe it was about a catch up or a create or a preparation, for example. It isn't finding anything there. But I can filter basically job type as well and Copilot agent, because there's different agents within Copilot. Agents are basically AI, just little bits of AI that have been created to do a specific job. Okay, a specific job. So in here, you can keep all of your prompts. So I did want to show you that, all right, but I am going to stop that for now because there's a lot more here to show you, but that's what we would cover normally in our training. But the other thing, just to note that if you are ever using your work Copilot, always make sure that you've got this green tick in the right-hand side corner. That means it's totally secure, the same security that you've got for your Microsoft 365 account. So I'm going to stop sharing that now. So last but certainly not least, we've got just a few minutes if you've got any questions whatsoever. So either open your mic, pop them into chat, whatever you feel most comfortable with. But yes, we'd love to answer any questions that you might actually have.
Wow, Sue, I don't know how you got through all that in that hour, but well done. got a question there from Sinead. Sinead,
From Sinead.
Yeah.
Just say that was really helpful. Thank you so much for talking us through, especially the prompting bits. I think it's quite easy to just assume a quick sentence is enough, but actually the more detail you add, the better. Quick question, but happy to take it offline if it's not the right forum. Is it more about data governance? I completely understand that it only pulls from, like, you can't access things you haven't been able to access.
Yes.
But how important is it to make sure your SharePoint or your SharePoint sites or your labelings are actually all set up correctly before doing a full-scale rollout. We've just done a pilot, and I'm not quite sure how much we need to do data governance wise.
I think what Copilot, because everybody is going to want to start using it because it speeds things up so tremendously, as we've seen, is that companies are going to begin to start realizing how very, very important that things they should have already have been done, but it may highlight that you've not been doing, not you personally, but as an organization, perhaps haven't been as good as you should have been. So, so that is very, very important. But if you can access it via Copilot, that means you could access it via SharePoint anyway. So if you are seeing things that you shouldn't have seen, then you need to let the author and the owner of that document to go in and sort out the permissions, which is not complicated and not difficult, but if it's been overlooked, then yes. So it's whether you see it in Copilot or not, you could have seen it in SharePoint as well.
Perfect. That's really helpful. Thank you.
You're very, very welcome.
Anybody else got any other questions before we close?
Thank you, Gemma. I hope I didn't speak too fast. We did go through a lot in an hour.
We definitely did. We definitely did. Any other questions before we close? No. Well, the final poll is on the screen, and it's just to say, if you wanted to follow up a call with our experts, then please feel free to put yes, and we'll just reach out to you to arrange a call, and that'll be good. There will be a follow-up email coming out to you with hints and tips and information we've covered, so you can take that away. But Sue, thank you very much for today's session. Thank you everyone for joining. It's been great to meet you all, and I look forward to speaking to you again shortly. Thanks everyone. Take care.
Thank you everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Let me just stop recording.
Yeah, I just removed that Read AI